My name is Rose Caldwell. I'm 29, and if you ask my mother what I'm good at, she'd probably say leaving things unfinished. My family calls La Jolla home. White fences, ocean air, wealth built on tight smiles and unspoken rules. They walk through life like they were born under better stars. I learned young that I wasn't like them. And in a family like mine, being different isn't a trait, it's a threat. They always said I was too quiet, too soft, too trusting. They said it like a flaw, something to fix or exploit. So when I returned from a 2-week vacation in New Mexico, burnt out but alive, I wasn't expecting a parade. But I wasn't expecting erasure either. I turned onto my street, slowed the car. The house stood still.
Clean. Wrong.
Curtains, white linen. Mine were dark blue. Door frame, fresh paint, not the faded wood I left. The plaque beside the gate?
Gone.
Just 2 empty screw holes where my name used to be. I parked, walked toward the porch. Wind pushed salt into my eyes. My mother stood waiting, hands crossed, lips tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Beside her, Gwen leaned on the hood of a white BMW like she was posing for a campaign ad. She twirled keys around one finger. Always theatrical. Always smug. "You're back early," my mother said. I blinked. "Where's my nameplate?"
Gwen laughed.
"Seriously? That's your first question?" I looked up. The house smelled like lemon oil and someone else's choices. "New paint," I said. "My paint wasn't that color." Gwen's grin widened. "Bad news, Rose. You don't live here anymore." The words landed soft, like a pillow over the face. I waited for a laugh. A punchline. None came. "We sold the house," my mother said, voice casual, like she was reading me the weather. Gwen added, "Had to $350,000 doesn't just vanish." I swallowed. Gwen's debt. "Investment opportunities gone wrong," Gwen said, rolling her eyes. "Family helps family. Isn't that what you're always preaching?" I said nothing. "She was drowning," my mother added. "We made a choice. You were gone." I didn't sign anything. "Oh, but you did," Gwen said. "Power of attorney. 6 months ago." My spine stiffened. "That document was void," I snapped. "I revoked it. You both know that." Gwen reached into her bag, pulled out a white folder. She opened it slowly, theatrically. Papers inside.
Typed.
Stamped.
Signed.
"Recognize that?" she said. I did. It was my name, written in the exact slant of my signature. Every curve perfect. I took a breath. "Where's the buyer?" My mother smirked. "Forsyth and Lane LLC. Paid in full."
Cash.
"Buyer's name?" Gwen tilted her head. "Why do you care?" I stepped closer. My voice was calm. "Because this house wasn't yours to sell." Gwen's lips curled. "It was after your signature." My eyes flicked to the balcony. The same one I watched my father leave from every morning before he died. I'd sat there for hours.
Alone.
Waiting for someone to notice I was fading.
I didn't respond.
I didn't scream. I just smiled. "What's so funny?" Gwen asked, irritation leaking through her mascaraed calm. I looked at her, then to my mother. My voice low, steady. "If I didn't sign those papers, who the hell did?"
Đã dùng 71% bộ nhớ nếu hết bộ nhớ, thì bạn không thể lưu tệp vào tờ giấy hoặc sử dụng Gmail.
The county recorder's office smelled like laminate and desperation. Fluorescents buzzed overhead like dying hornets. I leaned against the bulletproof glass, lips tight, fingers cold, watching the clerk tap her acrylics on a screen she clearly didn't want to be looking at. "Name again?" she asked. "Rose Caldwell. Property on La Jolla Shores Drive. Filed under my name." She gave me a look, half boredom, half suspicion.
Top.
Sold last week. Filed under power of attorney. Recorded by Carter Dane. Notarized with video proof. I blinked. Video. Yeah. All POAs now require live-sign video logs in San Diego County. Part of the anti-fraud update last year. She turned the screen.
Here. It was me. Me.
On screen. Hair up. Navy blouse I've never owned. Sitting at a glass desk, pen in hand, signature exact. My signature. My face. But not me. The audio played low. Rose Caldwell, authorized the transfer of full legal power to Gwendolyn Caldwell in the event of absence or incapacitation. The voice matched mine, but there was no pause.
Nombres.
Too perfect. Can I get a copy? I asked. She frowned. Legal request only. Unless you're filing a fraud report. I didn't respond. I walked out. Cut to street. Cars blur by. Salt air. My own breath ragged. I dialed my old firm's contact, Weston at Dillon and Marks. He picked up after 2 rings. Rose? You okay? I need a favor. Talk. Can you run a name for me?
Carter Dane.
He notarized a forged POA. Silence. That's impossible. Why? Carter Dane was disbarred 3 years ago. He's off-grid. No legal authority in California. If his name's on that paper, you're in trouble. I already am.
Click.
I drove without direction. Let the turns guide me. Ended up in a parking lot of a local cafe I hadn't been to in years. That's when the man slid into the booth across from me. He moved like someone who knew not to be noticed. Blazer unbuttoned. Shirt collar half-wrinkled. Eyes gray and quiet. Rose Caldwell, he asked. Who's asking? Miles Beckett. Am I supposed to know that name?
No.
But I know yours. And I know you didn't sign that document. I didn't blink. Who are you? Private investigator. Been following your sister's financials for another case. Stumbled into this mess. You're following Gwen?
No, he said.
I'm following the trail of fraud your name's now tied to. He slid a flash drive across the table. Start with that. What is it? Video. Emails. A few transactions I shouldn't have access to. Why help me? Because you're not the only one they tried to erase. I hesitated, then took the flash drive. Miles stood, left like vapor.
Cut scene.
My laptop screen glowed in the dark. Motel Wi-Fi barely held. The folder opened. A clip played. Janice.
Gwen.
A man in a tan blazer, mid-50s, beard, glasses. Carter Dane. They were seated at an outdoor cafe in Solana Beach. Gwen's voice cut through. She leaves in 4 days. We need the paperwork done before she lands in Taos. Denise. She won't notice. She never pays attention to the fine print. Then laughter. I froze the frame. Behind them, a time-stamped chalkboard, Saturday, 12:43 p.m. I checked my photos. That exact time, I was boarding a flight, smiling, clueless. The email folder held another gut punch.
Zenda, Rose Caldwell 1 at Gmail. Come.
One typo. One damn L missing. Subject, full authorization, please rush. Recipient, notary@docscience.org. Attached, a PDF. My signature. My scanned ID. My face. Someone was inside my accounts. Someone had been planning this for weeks. My phone vibrated. Blocked number. I picked up. Silence. Then a voice, distorted, genderless. You're pulling at threads that don't want to unravel.
Click.
I stared at the wall. Sometimes we think if we stay quiet, we'll stay safe. But silence doesn't protect you. It buries you. They didn't just steal my house. They erased me.
Đã dùng 71% bộ nhớ nếu hết bộ nhớ, thì bạn không thể lưu tệp vào đời dài hoặc sử dụng Gmail.
I woke at 3:14 a.m. sharp.
A sound. Soft.
Uneven. Something between scratching and static. I held my breath. Stayed still. The motel was supposed to be quiet. Off-grid. A forgettable spot behind a shuttered gas station. Cash only.
No cameras.
But there was again tick-tick pause tick-tick. I turned toward the wall. Rolled out of bed slow, bare feet on cold tile. The air smelled faintly of mildew and pine-scented cleaner.
Then I saw it.
A glint behind the smoke detector's plastic grill. Just for a second, a faint red. I climbed the chair, opened the casing. A hidden microcamera, wedged behind loose wiring. Still warm. Not motel security.
Someone was watching me.
I crushed it with my heel.
Cut scene.
I dressed fast, packed the essentials, laptop, hard drive, burner phone, flash drive. Slammed the trunk closed.
The street was dead.
But I felt it.
Eyes.
A presence. Like heat before the burn. My chest tightened. I hit the gas. I kept checking the mirror. Black SUV.
2 cars behind.
Then one. Then none. By the time I reached downtown, my heart was a metronome set to panic. At sunrise, I parked 3 blocks from Gwen's apartment. Gated. Monitored. Too clean. Too sterile. I walked. Hood up. Eyes low. Buzzed her unit. No answer. Again. Still nothing. The neighbor stepped out with the dog. I held the door. 3rd floor.
Door dribe. Locked.
I picked it. Inside. Pristine. Too pristine. Photos of Gwen with beach cocktails, fake eyelashes, filtered vacations. She hadn't lived here in weeks. Fridge empty. Closet half full. Designer bags.
Tags still on.
All flash. No substance. On the table, a bank envelope. Addressed to Jude O'Connor. I took it.
Cut scene.
Jude was Gwen's ex-startup failure turned crypto bro. I hadn't seen him in years. But now, he was sitting across from me in a worn-out sushi bar off Garnet Avenue, hoodie, aviators, twitchy fingers. She used my ID to open a shadow line of credit, he said. I found out when a lien hit my car. And you didn't report her? I did. Dropped the case.
She cried.
Said she was going to rehab. I'm an idiot. No argument here. He grinned. Then slid his phone across the table. I found this 2 days ago. She forgot to log out of a group chat. Her and some guy named Forsyth.
On screen, chat logs.
Photos of my passport, driver's license, signature forms. A list of access points. Bank, email, HR portal. They didn't just fake a document. They replicated me. Jude said, she called it a perfect cover story. You'd be gone, and they'd have everything. I leaned back. Do you know who Forsyth is?
No.
But I know where he met Gwen. A country club out near Escondido. Tuesday nights. Private poker group. Full of people with secrets. I stood. You got a clean exit? He laughed. I stopped being clean when I dated your sister.
Cut scene.
Back in the car. I checked my bank again. Still frozen. My health insurance? Cancelled. Work email? Access denied. A slow chokehold. Every part of my identity rerouted. Scrubbed. Redirected. They weren't just pushing me out of the family. They were building a new version of me. My phone buzzed. Miles. Move, he said. What? You're being followed. Black SUV.
2 blocks east.
They know your rental plate.
How?
Does it matter?
Click.
I dropped the phone. Looked in the mirror. The SUV had returned. I accelerated.
Cut through an alley.
Tires squealed. Brake lights flared.
Turned left. Then right.
Then wrong. Engine roared. My knuckles white on the wheel. A voice inside me whispered, don't crash. Don't give them what they want. My father once told me, fear isn't weakness. It's the part of you that refuses to be silent. I gripped that like armor. And drove. If they've stolen my name, what else are they coming for?
Đã dùng 71% bộ nhớ nớ hết bộ nhớ, thì bạn không thể lưu tệp vào đời dài hoặc sử dụng Gmail.
I didn't stop driving until the coastline disappeared. My pulse still carried the memory of the SUV's headlights burning into my rear view. I pulled off near a shuttered surf shop, killed the engine, and let the silence crawl in. Silence was supposed to mean safety. Tonight it felt like surveillance holding its breath. Miles's voice echoed in my mind. You're being followed. I stepped out, grabbed my bags, and slipped behind the building toward the old beach rental my father's friend once owned. No cameras. No neighbors. No paper trail. A place built for disappearing. Inside, dust floated in slanted beams of morning light. Floorboards creaked like warnings. The air smelled of salt, wood rot, and ghosts. I dropped my bags, locked every window, double-checked the deadbolt. Then I powered up the secure line Miles set up for me, a cheap laptop wired through a private VPN. He'd sworn it was airtight. I didn't trust airtight anymore. "Tell me everything," he said when the connection crackled alive. I told him. The camera in the motel. The SUV. Gwen missing. My accounts locked. My identity dissolving piece by piece. He didn't interrupt. Only exhaled sharply when I finished. "Rose, you're not dealing with amateurs. Someone's orchestrating this at scale. They're using clerical piggybacking, identity ghosting, digital mirroring. This isn't about the house." "I know. It's bigger." I closed my eyes. "How big?" "Someone wants you off the map."
Cut scene.
My phone buzzed with a fraud alert. I opened my banking app, face recognition disabled. PIN rejected. Again. A message flashed in red. Account frozen. Federal review in progress. A federal review? That only triggered when the fraud risk hit catastrophic levels. I whispered to myself, they're cutting every bridge. Someone once told me, when a person wants you gone, they don't stab you, they isolate you. I used to think that was dramatic. Now it felt instructional. I checked my email next.
Locked.
Password reset looped back to user not found. I tried my employer's HR portal. Status. Resignation received.
Processing.
I hadn't resigned. My entire life was being rewritten by someone with a pen sharper than mine.
Cut scene.
I needed proof. Something that tied this to the ground. Something they couldn't erase. So I drove to my storage unit in Pacific Beach. It was one of the few things I'd kept separate from my regular accounts. Autopay through a backup card. I prayed they hadn't reached it. The keypad blinked green. Inside, dust layered over cardboard boxes and old furniture. I dug through the labeled ones, Dad, college, documents. Then I found it, my father's old ledgers. Leather-bound.
Heavy.
Faded. I knelt. Opened the first page. Handwritten notes. Property logs. Land parcel diagrams. My heart kicked. Plot 16B. The original land beneath the La Jolla house. And a name beside it. Rose Caldwell, sole heir. My mother's name wasn't anywhere on it. Neither was Gwen's. Legally, they had zero right to sell it. A tremor went through me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't powerless. Someone had buried the truth under forged paperwork and digital fog. Behind me, something rattled. Metal shifting. I turned fast, ready to swing the ledger like a weapon. Just a loose shelf. Nothing more. But my pulse didn't settle. I felt watched again. Breath on the back of my neck. Like the air had eyes.
Cut scene.
Back at the rental, I plugged in Miles's flash drive to run the files through a verification tool. But as soon as I connected it, a file auto-opened. A deep fake video.
Me.
Or the version of me they crafted. Sitting confidently at a desk, smiling at the camera. I, Rose Caldwell, willingly authorized the sale of my home. I understand the financial circumstances and take full responsibility. My voice, my cadence, my face. Fabricated to perfection. If someone sent that to investigators, it would unravel me completely. I slammed the laptop shut. A whisper in my head surfaced. Something an old professor once said. Truth is fragile. Lies just need better lighting. My phone chimed. Blocked number. I answered. A voice, smooth, almost amused. You're fighting the wrong battle. Who is this? You'll know soon. Stop digging. You're not built for this. Try me. A small laugh. You're already losing.
Click. Cut scene.
I stood in the dim rental, adrenaline buzzing under my skin. Every nerve awake. The ocean roared through thin walls. Shadows stretched long, like they were reaching for me. Someone knocked. 3 slow taps on the door. I froze. No one should know I was here. The knocks came again, firmer. The doorknob twitched. Then a quiet, male voice. Rose, open up. It's me. Miles. But something in his tone felt off. Too calm. Too rehearsed. I didn't move. He tried again. We need to talk. Static rose in my chest. If I don't exist, then nothing's stopping them from burying me.
Đã dùng 71% bộ nhớ nớ hết bộ nhớ, thì bạn không thể lưu tệp vào đời dai hoặc sử dụng Gmail.
Miles's shadow filled the doorway. He stood still. Too still. Like a man rehearsing calm. His voice slid under the crack of the door. Rose, open up. We don't have time. My fingers hovered above the lock. Something inside whispered, a man in a hurry doesn't speak like a lullaby. Back away from the door, I said. A long pause. Then footsteps. 1 step back. Not 2. Not 3.
1.
I grabbed my bag, slipped out the back window, and ran. Sand sprayed behind me as I cut toward the cliffs, lungs burning, heart pounding like it wanted out.
Cut scene.
By sunrise, I was halfway to the border. Dust storms kicked off the asphalt as I pulled into a container yard near Otay Mesa, Jude's tip about Carter Dane echoing through my skull. This is where ghosts come to rot, Jude had said. People hiding from the law, or hiding from themselves. I stepped between rows of steel cargo containers, each one towering like a tomb.
Wischt.
Silence. No wind. Every sound amplified. My breath, the scuff of my boot, the faint hum of distant machinery. Then movement. A shadow slipped between 2 containers. I followed. And there he was.
Carter Dane.
Older than the video. Beard overgrown. Eyes darting like a cornered animal. He held a cigarette between trembling fingers. You Rose? He asked. You know who I am. He laughed, cracked and bitter. Everyone does now. I stepped closer. You forged my signature. You notarized a fraudulent POA. You helped them sell my house. I notarized what I was paid to notarize. His hands shook harder. You think you're the only one they came for? What are you talking about? They're laundering identities, property, assets. You weren't chosen. You were convenient. Convenient. A word that sliced deeper than it should have. Who's they? I asked. He opened his mouth.
Crack.
A gunshot ripped the air. His skull snapped backward. Blood misted the container behind him. I dropped to the ground. Crawled behind a forklift.
Breathing fast.
Metallic taste in my mouth. Carter's body crumpled, cigarette still lit between dead fingers. Another shot. Sparks off steel. Sniper. Miles's warning rang in my ears. You're being followed. But this wasn't following. This was cleanup. Another bullet grazed my shoulder. Pain flared white. I bit down a scream. I bolted.
Zigzag.
Don't run straight. Don't die neat.
Cut scene.
I dove into a container, slammed the door halfway shut, and held my breath. Footsteps echoed outside. Measured, heavy. Then voices. Did you get her? No visual. I swallowed.
Hard.
After a full minute, I slipped out the opposite end, sprinted for my car, and peeled out of the yard so fast the tires screamed. Blood soaked my sleeve. My vision blurred. But the worst part wasn't the blood. It was the truth Carter didn't get to finish. Miles called. I hesitated, then answered. Where are you? He demanded. You sound out of breath. I just watched Carter Dane die. Silence. He was murdered, I said. Sniper.
Clean.
Professional. Miles exhaled, sharp. Rose. Listen to me. You need to calm down. I cut him off. How did they know I was there? What? No one knew I'd go to the yard except you. Another silence. Longer this time. Heavy enough to crush ribs. Miles, I whispered. What did you do? He ended the call.
Cut scene.
My heart thrashed as I drove toward the highway. Every mile, another unraveling reality. Every breath, a warning. I kept replaying the look on Carter's face before the bullet hit.
Fear.
Recognition. Submission. Someone owned him. Someone who now wanted me dead. I reached a gas station in Alpine, pulled to the side pump, and leaned into the passenger seat to grab my bag. Something fell onto my lap. A file. A thick one. Tan cover. Redacted pages. It hadn't been there before. My hands shook as I opened it. Caldwell Asset Leverage Plan. Photos of me entering my office, leaving my gym, sitting at a coffee shop. Handwritten notes in the margins. Bank routing instructions. Property transfer forms drafted months before the house was sold. And at the bottom,
A receipt.
filed under Forsyth and Lane LLC. Registered by Miles Beckett. A cold wave rolled through my chest. My throat tightened. The investigation. The warnings. The flash drive.
The help.
All of it orchestrated.
He wasn't protecting me. He was monitoring me.
Miles was the mastermind. The betrayal hit like a blunt weapon. I felt my ribs tighten around my heart. Someone once said, "Beware the person who offers you a lifeline. They might be measuring the weight of your fall." I finally understood. My phone buzzed. Miles. I didn't answer. I stepped out of the car, leaving the door open. The desert wind howled. Clouds moved fast across the sky like they knew something I didn't. Then headlights behind me. Miles's SUV rolled into the lot. He stepped out.
Come.
Confident, gun at his hip. "Rose," he said softly. "You weren't supposed to see that." I ran. Sand kicked up behind me.
My feet pounded the dirt.
His footsteps followed, slow at first, then faster. A shot cracked. Dust exploded near my ankle. Another shot. Closer. I reached the canyon edge, heart slamming like it wanted to escape my chest. Miles raised the gun. "Stop running. You and I both know how this ends." I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I jumped sideways, down a slope of gravel, and tumbled hard, rocks tearing into my arms. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted into the brush. Bullets followed. Branches snapped. Wind roared. My life narrowed to a single thought. You used my family. Now I'll use the truth.
Đã dùng 71% bộ nhớ nếu hết bộ nhớ, thì bạn không thể lưu tệp vào đời dài hoặc sử dụng Gmail.
Sirens sliced the dawn air. Red and blue reflections jumped on the canyon walls like frantic thoughts. I stood in the open, shirt torn, blood still warm under my skin. Miles's SUV sat smoking behind me.
Empty. No body.
Just footprints fading into the scrub. A moment later, headlights cut through the dust. Federal agents, cars screeching in. Guns out. Orders bellowed. They cuffed me first.
Confusion.
Questions. But no answers.
Not yet.
Then they pulled Miles out, hands up, eyes wild, brandishing denial like armor. "You don't understand. You were the mastermind," an agent said.
No.
But the recordings were clear. The asset leverage plan, Miles's handwriting on the receipts, the GPS logs he manipulated to frame every move I ever made. He wasn't innocent. He was brilliant with shadows. A voice beside me, authoritative, cool. "Rose Caldwell," the agent said, slipping a card into my hand. "Senior Counsel, Federal Investigations." Behind us, agents swarmed the canyon. A drone's lens whirred high above. People think identity is fixed, but it's only skin deep. I remembered the words, something I once whispered to calm my own fear. No longer true. Identity could be forged, stolen, rebuilt, but it could also be reclaimed. They escorted us down from the cliffs, Miles in cuffs and denial, me in dust-stained jeans and bruised confidence. The media cluster waited at the station entrance, cameras, flashes, relentless questions. But I said nothing. I wasn't ready. Not yet. I walked past them, heart still pounding with the echoes of everything that had happened. Betrayal, violence, loss, survival. All tangled in the same impossible knot. Inside, the council laid out the case. Miles wasn't acting alone. There were others. The real puppet master was still out there. That's when I saw the file. A single photo. Taylor Forsyth, my sister's fixer, the one who never made noise, the one who smiled too easy. She stood at a gala fundraiser last month, a fundraiser for a children's charity my family sponsored. Taylor's hand in mine, smiling wide, untraceable, untouchable in the crowd. My breath caught. Agents leaned in. She's international, the counsel said. A ghost in white gloves. Never fingerprinted. Never charged. But connected to every shell company we've traced. My jaw tightened. Taylor wasn't just a middleman. She was the architect. Miles was the muscle. Taylor was the mind. I felt the old rage rise. The betrayal. The ache of almost becoming a ghost. But something else came too.
Clarity.
They walked me to a secure conference room, a wall of screens behind me. Maps. Timelines. Movement patterns. Everything pointed one way. Taylor. I closed my eyes. Truth is fragile. Lies just need better lighting. I had lived that. And now I had the flashlight. Agents moved fast. Warrants, subpoenas, traceable leads. Her network began to crumble like brittle stone. A public arrest followed that afternoon. She didn't run. She stood at the ballroom entrance, cuffed and immaculate in a black sheath dress, like she'd expected cameras. But her smile faltered when she saw me. Just once. Then she turned to the agents. "Caldwell," she said, voice smooth. "You were a step behind." A reporter leaned in.
Flash.
Taylor Forsyth, arrested in connection with identity fraud, asset theft, and conspiracy, someone said. I watched it all happen from the gallery. Miles in an orange suit, Taylor smirking until the cuffs closed, disbelief washing over her features. Then silence. The counsel approached. "Your identity's fully restored," he said. "Everything reversed: property, accounts, reputation." I nodded. But my mind was elsewhere. Back on the cliffs, under machine gun echoes and desert dust. I walked outside. The sun hung low, golden on the horizon. I thought about my father's ledgers, the original land rights, the truth buried deep. And I thought about what I had become. Not the lost sister, not the quiet one, but someone who survived. Someone who fought back. Survival doesn't make you strong, I murmured, the words almost a prayer. Action does. I breathed in the warm air, the tension of months unraveling like a held breath. Later, at the coastline, I stood at the new plot, uncut land, untouched waves breaking against rugged stone. I laid the first stake into the ground, my fingers pressing firm, purposeful. A new home, not built from money, built from truth. And I whispered aloud, to the ocean, to the horizon, to the sky. They took my house. I took back everything else. A gull cried overhead. Waves thudded in steady rhythm. And I walked toward the future, face forward, heart whole, identity mine again.